Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to LinkedIn Tuesday. It's May 12th, 2026. We're very glad you're with us today. Please note this event will be recorded. It will be on the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording. For everybody who's on Zoom today, please feel free to open up the chat window, give us your name, give us the position you're looking for, give us your email, your LinkedIn address, 2 or 3 target companies that you'd like help with, trying to connect with. And then if you have companies that you can help with connections to somebody else who's on the call, that would be greatly appreciated. This is a great way to expand your connections. LinkedIn is all about connecting with other people. So be sure at the end of this presentation to save the chat and connect with everybody who's on the call today. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org, a website to help those unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I launched careerusa.org to help those around the United States. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon. If you see me in person, I usually have copies with me. Since 2007, I've been leading and facilitating the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. That group's been around since the late 1990s. I took it over in 2007 when the prior leader landed a job. And I'll tell you about our upcoming program we have coming up this Friday. It's really interesting program you may want to join. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team, also known as the PIT crew. They like to say, practice early, practice often. Don't wait until you have an interview. Practice now. Send your resume and a job description, and you can get more information if you go to dallaspitcrew.com. Well, we have 4 outstanding speakers who talk about LinkedIn on a monthly basis. They rotate through once a week. Today, our speaker is Kurt VandeMotter. He's a retained search executive at Linked Executive Search, and he's going to talk about how he's trying to find you. So, Kurt, thank you very much for being with us, and it's all yours.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Hang on, I'm finishing my concierge service. I was doing helping a young man out from our country club that's about to be engaged, and he wanted a special restaurant reservation, so I was facilitating that. But thank you all for being here today. I told Jeff that this may be a little shorter meeting normal, or maybe it may be just 1 hour because we have a lot to talk about. Um, I'm in a real dilemma, and you're going to hear my personal side. I've had a LinkedIn account for 24 years, and I've got over 15,000 followers. I live and die in LinkedIn, and I recently opened up a new account under Recruiter Lite, and in less than 30 days, they charged $6,099 to my account. So Bank of America thought there was fraud and shut my account down, and LinkedIn has turned my account off. So I am without a LinkedIn account right now, and you can't imagine trying to do my job without that resource is really taking a toll on me in a lot of different ways. So
Oh my gosh.
I do not have a LinkedIn account that I can open up and show you and take you through. But I wanted to take the time because I had it on my schedule to talk to everybody here today because my troubles are small compared to yours. I think everybody on this call is probably looking for a job. And so I want to be here to be an assistant to give any suggestions I can offer to you to maybe make your day a little lighter and maybe it's some wisdom or something that you hadn't thought of before. So with that said, Jeff, let's just go into just a couple of the areas that we talk about at the beginning of all of our meetings. But first and foremost, not any different today, but really I'm going to take as much customer um, audience participation as I can get. So if you've got a question that you've been, just hankering to ask a recruiter, you've got a question that you've gotten 5 different answers for, and you want to know which is the right answer. I may not be able to give you the right answer, but maybe I give you a different perspective. Make sure you put that into the chat right away. Jeff is my wingman, and he'll keep an eye on that. And I really do want your questions because I don't have the visuals that I normally have to be able to show you in opening up my LinkedIn. So that's the very first thing is don't wait till the end. Don't wait till I start talking about a subject that you want to learn more about. If you've got a question, put it out there right now. Chances are not everybody, maybe 2 or 3 other people have the same question. The second thing I want to highlight is that I do have a couple of jobs open in the Dallas area. One is a senior shopper marketing, consumer packaged goods person, omni-channel. And that is, again, here in Dallas, and that's with a consumer packaged goods company. Jeff, I can send you these 2 briefs if that would help, and then you can throw them around and post them wherever you want to.
Okay.
And then I've got a director of PR. And I'm really looking for somebody in PR, not in marketing. So a lot of times PR people write themselves off as being PR people, but they're really marketing people. And I'm looking for PR, very not generic, but PR people that have lived that life in crisis management, working with an agency, helping with big activations and things like that. So those are the 2 roles that I've got open. If you or anybody on this call knows of anybody, sometimes it's a networking thing that you've got a friend or an aunt or somebody that you go to church with or somebody that's been talking about these kinds of jobs. Even if you don't think they might be a fit, don't hesitate to give them my name and number and have them call me directly. I'll take any of these calls that I can get. So with that, let's just talk about recruiters in general, okay? And the reason that I like to start these meetings with a little discussion about recruiters is that it helps if you as a candidate understands the different kinds of recruiters that there are. And that doesn't mean that they're good, bad, and ugly. There are really 3 different types of recruiters. There are in-house recruiters, and these are recruiters. I use AT&T as an example, but each of the recruiters in these companies, they can have as many as 30 or 40 jobs open at a given time. You take a company like Ready Ice, and I don't recruit for them today, but as an example, they're in their season right now, right? So April, May, June, July, August, September, and then even into the football season, that's their high season. So they've got recruiters that are recruiting for all kinds of positions. But AT&T, I like to use as an example because I think it defines and describes it pretty well. But at AT&T as an example, they may have 200 recruiters, and their recruiters are divided into different business segments. So there may be recruiters for call centers. There may be recruiters that are recruiting for their retail stores. There are recruiters that are recruiting for sales and marketing roles. There's recruiters that are recruiting for senior management roles and opportunities. You get what I'm talking about. Each of these recruiters could have as many as 30 or 40 jobs open on their desk at a time. In many cases, they're similar roles, so they know exactly what they're looking for. They're very, very busy people. And in generics, very generic, very general, generally these people are a little younger in their career. Now that's not good or bad. It's just a fact. They know exactly what they're looking for, and so they will not generally skirt the guidelines very far as presenting a candidate that doesn't fit exactly what the hiring manager is looking for. They've been in his office. They go into his office every week, and they're not going to present somebody that, well, this guy doesn't have exactly what you were looking for, but he's just got a really good demeanor. That you're not going to get that from in-house recruiters. They rely very heavily on their applicant tracking systems, and they put a lot of guideposts out there as far as number of jobs that you might have had to the type of email address that you've got. If you've got a Yahoo email address, then you're considered old. So there's all kinds of things that they can put into those applicant tracking systems to pull out things or pull out dropout candidates that don't have exactly what the company is looking for. I think this is a really good time to talk about. I think it's a fairly generic um, um, exercise today, Jeff, but where candidates that take the time to take their resume and put it into AI and then load the job description into AI and make AI give them the resume that reflects the job description. That is a very common procedure today. You have to do it with a little bit of caution because some of the AI tools put some tricks and gizmos in there that you want to make sure you get out of. So you've got to do a really, really good job of of uh, um, of reviewing it before you send it out. But if you don't have in these situations where you're applying to high volume jobs, if you don't have a resume that is almost spot on to what they're looking for, then you're typically going to get kicked out of their applicant tracking system. So that's in-house recruiters. I'll come back and talk about how you can communicate better with these recruiters, but let's go on to contingent recruiters. So if a company is looking for a director of sales and they don't have an internal recruiting team, or it's a confidential search and they don't want their internal organization to know that they're going to replace somebody in sales, they may go outside the organization and hire a contingent recruiting firm. In this particular case, a company can hire or use up to 3, 4, 5 recruiters if they want. Nobody gets paid any money. And the only company that gets paid any money is the company that places or brings the candidate to the organization. So they work very fast because they want to make sure that their candidate gets in front of the company before the competition does. Early in my career, I did a couple of contingent searches. And the bottom line is I'd rather lose money on the golf course than to do contingent work. You work all day, you get presentations ready, you have a really nice slate of a couple of candidates, and you send them in, and they tell you that they've hired somebody else from a different company. And so all your work goes on deaf ears, and there's nowhere else you can take that work because it was very specialized for that particular role. So outside contingents, they don't get paid any money up front. There can be multiple search companies. They work pretty fast. And there's only one person that gets paid in that chain, and that's the company that brings a candidate. And then I do outside retained search. So again, a company is looking for an executive. It could be a senior level. I got a call yesterday from a company that's looking for a CFO, a family-owned business in the building supply industry. Virginia's their area. A lot of different pieces are going to come into a role like that. Then I've got a couple of other roles that I identified: the director of PR and a senior shopper marketing role. So companies pay me a retainer up front to fill these jobs. I'm the only one that's working on these searches, so there's nobody internally and there's nobody externally that's working on the search, and I get paid based on the salary and a percentage of earned dollars and so forth. We have generally a different relationship with customers and clients. I had a call with one of my clients on Friday and took them through where we were at. And even though we've been working on the search for a couple of weeks, there's no anxiety. They know that we're working on it. They like the candidates that we've delivered, but they're not, we haven't been able to find the exact one yet. So we have just very open dialogue. I might bring to the organization a candidate, and this is why I'm bringing the candidate. I know that they don't check this box and that box, but I think that this candidate brings a lot of other value could bring a lot of other value to the organization, demonstrating my understanding of what the organization is looking for. I bring candidates forward that generally don't check all the boxes because I'm looking to fill and find the best available athlete. And sometimes that athlete comes in different shapes and colors and sizes and so forth. Now, how do we best communicate with these different organizations? in all cases, whenever you're talking to a recruiter, you want to make sure you're talking to them in a quiet place. So if you're driving down the highway at 70 miles an hour, I highly recommend that you find a place to get off the road. Make sure that you've got a notepad handy and you've got a piece of paper or a pencil handy that you can take some notes on. I think those are the most important things. So if it means that you've got to put this call off to 20 minutes down the road, that's okay. You want to make sure that you're prepared and that you're prepared for the conversation. It's okay to ask the recruiter, have you sent me a copy of the job description? Now, in some cases, I have a conversation with a candidate before having sent the job description, and I tell them I just want to have a 6 or 7 minute call, and I'll tell you all about the organization and more about the salary and all of that. And I just don't want to waste. I just don't want to waste candidates' time. So I sometimes will have that conversation without having a formal resume, maybe just looking at their LinkedIn profile. But we want to be in a quiet place. We want to have a piece of paper to write on, a pencil to write with. Um, we want to have good questions ready, but we want to try to answer the questions that the company or the recruiter is asking us. So a lot of candidates, and this is just a little piece of advice that over 17 years of doing this, I can offer candidates. And I'm not calling anybody out on the call. I went through the list on Jeff, and I didn't see any of my friends on here. I've got like 35 new friends. I'm really excited about this. But the sad thing is, you can't invite me to join your network because you can't find my profile on LinkedIn. So you're just going to have to hold off on that for another week or two until I reconnect, and then we'll do that. But um, is that is that we don't want to vomit when we talk to a recruiter. We don't want to tell them our life story. Okay. And that happens so many times as candidates get so excited to talk to a recruiter and they just spew out everything that they think that I want to know in the first 15 minutes. And I haven't even had a chance to really give them any questions or anything to talk about yet. So be mindful of that and ask good questions and wait for the questions before you offer the answers. What I often try to get candidates to my coaching to you as candidates is to try to figure out what is the biggest problem that the company's trying to solve. Okay. If you can ask a recruiter that is to, early on in the conversation, as they tell you a little bit about the role, you've talked a little bit about your background. If you can get them to describe what is the biggest problem that they're trying to solve, that will help you format your conversation with that recruiter going forward. Remember again, also with all recruiters, you're never going to get a job offer over the phone call for a first call. Okay. It's going to take a couple of meetings, a couple of interviews. So you want to just be patient, take your time, and build a relationship with these people. Okay. But be timely and recognize that they may have 20 more phone calls to make. If they're an internal recruiter and they're working for AT&T and they're talking to you at 1 o'clock, they may have 20 more phone calls that they've got to make before the end of the day of people that have applied and people that they've got to follow up with and so forth. So they're very busy people.
Kurt, I've got a couple
Yeah.
questions. Sally asked, would staff augmentation firms be considered retained search since they have the staffing contract?
Not really. They are because, especially in the IT space, you'll see that, and they're definitely retained. But yeah, that's probably a really good example that I don't really talk about, Jeff. But there are recruiters that do just that work, and it's all contract. So they're trying to find a contract IT or a contract HR, more generally in the IT services category. And you work with a recruiter one time, they place you, and then you're working with an internal representative at that point.
Okay. Michelle asked, does a recruiter use AI and rebuild my resume?
I do not modify, change, or make any changes to resumes. I'm very, very outspoken about that to companies because I don't want them to think that I have the ability to go in and modify resumes and to tell a company what I think they want to hear. So I do not make changes. There are times that I'll make recommendation to a candidate that I would like you to make these changes to your resume, but I do not make changes. AI is an amazing tool to, looking at your resume, prioritizing, matching your resume up against job descriptions. I can't speak highly enough that you would do that. I think it's just really really important because there's so much information in job descriptions. Um, but I would test it out when you're not super busy, and you're not applying for the next best job in the world. I would test it out, when you got some training reels that you can use, and you can just try it, test it, see if you like it, see how much time it takes to modify it. But I think you'll appreciate, I think your number of calls will go up if you do some of that.
All right. Clint asked, how do you know what type of recruiter they are?
Ask them. Nothing wrong with saying, so I understand you're an outside recruiter. Are you contingent or are you a retained search executive? You'll probably know pretty quickly if they're an internal recruiter working for working for the company, because they're going to identify themselves that this is Kurt VandeMotter and I'm recruiting for ABC Networks right now. So they will generally announce themselves pretty quickly. In the case that they don't, then it's okay to ask the recruiter, could you give me an idea? Have you been retained or are you a contingent recruiter? And if they say, what does that matter? Well, I'm asking because I know that those two types of recruiters work a little bit differently, and I just want to make sure that I stay on schedule and meet your deadlines.
Okay. Michelle, I see you have your hand up. Go ahead and ask your question.
Oh, verbally? Oh, okay. What I'm questioning is that when someone stole my account, they actually took it over. They changed the password, they changed my email connection. I was locked out at back basically, and I had to create a whole new account. So both my accounts are out there. So I don't see that yours comes up at all, and we are connected.
Yeah. Yeah, so what happened was, because of fault of payment, LinkedIn has blocked me, and has
Oh,
said that I'm at fault, that I went delinquent on my account, and so it's an accounting issue that just needs to be rectified and can be done pretty quickly. But I've got to do it with a live person, and I don't have access to. I mean, I've sent a number of FedExes. I've got my daughter has got a friend that works for LinkedIn. She's a sales rep. She couldn't help. I have a friend in Dallas that has a friend that's a sales rep in Dallas. She couldn't help. I have made an acquaintance with a gal at LinkedIn that wants to sell me some product at LinkedIn, but until it gets back up, I don't have anything to buy. She's been the most help. And so thankfully, she's pushing the envelope a little bit. And then I think the next round of letters to the executive team may help set a fire. They sent me a letter recently, and it's for my. I'm now linked executive search employee pay raise and bonus allocation for linked being employee of LinkedIn. Okay,
mhm.
so they're they get some major IT issues somewhere along the line, and hopefully I can get somebody's attention to say, yeah, thanks, Kurt, you've helped identify a bunch of mistakes that we've made. So
The problem I
I'm
had
just
is
gonna,
they couldn't get them to cancel my account
yeah,
because I had to prove my identity. So it's still sitting out there.
yeah, no, it's a scary place because there is not a live person you can talk to anywhere.
Right.
I mean, I have done and made all the phone calls I can make. I thought all their offices were in Sunnyvale, and then I learned from a resource that their offices are in New York City. So I've gotten around that one. So my FedEx letters are now going to the office in New York City, which is where the executive team actually sits. So again, I am concerned, but I'm gonna find my way through this beeswax, this nest, and at the end I'll be able to tell a great story, right, Jeff?
Right.
Well, Godspeed.
Kat, I see you have your hand up.
Hello.
Hi,
Um,
Kat.
hey, Kurt. So just as an FYI, my niece works in IT and development with LinkedIn here in Dallas.
Oh
So
my
if you want
God.
to connect with me later, that might get you plugged into where you need to be.
Oh my God. What's an email address I can send you a note to?
KA Career 143 at Gmail.
I'll send you a note right afterwards.
Absolutely.
Thank
I'm
you.
not making any promises, but it might get you pointed in the right direction at least.
Well, I mean, again, she might be able to help or suggest, or maybe she can pass it on to a boss that says, this guy's got a good reputation. I don't go into a lot of my background, but I'm recognized by Forbes as being this year the 23rd best search firm in the United States, number one in the state of
Wow.
Texas.
Yeah,
Um, so
hit me up after this and
yep,
we'll see what I can do.
you're the best. I really appreciate it, Kat.
Absolutely, no
That's
problem.
that's how the world turns. This is
Well,
awesome.
it's what
Great.
networking is all about.
All
Yeah, it
right.
is. Totally. Um,
Rachel, I see you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Hi guys. You guys know of Ken Lang here in New Jersey? He's one of our LinkedIn guru around here, and
okay.
he goes into the office into New York all the time.
Okay. What's your email address? Start over
RBARISH.
again. R.
You can see my name on my thing here. It's R Barish at
Oh, okay.
Comcast.net.
Got it. I'll send you a note as well.
Okay, good luck.
Thanks. You guys rock. I really appreciate it.
That's what we're here
Um,
for. That's what
well,
you're here
thanks.
for
It
too.
it does. It takes a village. It takes a village. So Jeff, we left off with recruiters. Do we have any other questions?
Nope, that's it. Everybody just
Okay.
wants to help you right now.
Yep. No, that's awesome. So the next piece of the conversation I think is very valuable for us to have is that, even without having the visual of LinkedIn in front of us, you all have it memorized. You've all got seats on LinkedIn. You've been using it for a long time. And I just can't overemphasize how important LinkedIn is. There's been questions already about AI and how AI is being used in the search in the search world. I'll give you some inside scoop. My son works for a company called Sinecure. It's spelled Sinecure, Cure. And they're an AI platform that was originally built 4, 5, 6 years ago on trying to help recruiters accelerate finding better candidates. And over the years, I've followed their path, and I've tested their platform, and I've used some of their technology. But it really came to light, and I'm going to share you all the learning along the way in a seminar that I went to about 4 months ago. And I called my son afterwards and I said, Peter, you know what? What I've learned is AI is not really doing anything to help recruiters find candidates better or any different candidates than we can find on our own using LinkedIn. 98% of the candidates that companies present come out of LinkedIn. They're figuring out how to scrape and how to from a technology perspective, how to get access, how to get in and get that data out of LinkedIn. And then they're using all kinds of other technology to find email addresses and phone numbers and everything else out there. Okay. So they're doing a lot of that work. There's no question. But the bottom line and what I'm telling you is that the database that they're using is LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is your key to success. You can have a great Instagram page and you can have a great Facebook page and you can have other stuff out there. But the fact of the matter is whether it's an AI product or it's LinkedIn, your LinkedIn profile has got to be the best it possibly can be. Here are a couple of suggestions that I can offer you that will make your LinkedIn profile stronger and better than it is today. So the very first thing is we want to make sure we got a current picture. I know that sounds silly, but again, I see more and more times where there's a picture and it's two people and it's Jackie, okay, is the candidate. And I don't know if it's Jackie the female or the male. It doesn't really matter because when I talk to that person, I'll figure it out. But just to make it simple and clean, one picture of you and a professional picture. You can use your iPhone to do it. Make sure that your summary section, that is a section that's underneath your picture. I think Jeff, it changes on us all the time, but it's like 1,800 characters, right?
I think it's 2,600.
2,600. 2,600 characters, y'all. That is the absolute best real estate that a candidate can use and have in their job search. I want you to fill those 2,600 characters up with different words and keywords that describe who you are and what you've done. I want you to write it in a passive fashion, okay? So I want you to write stories, tell people who you are, what you've done. 2,600 characters is a lot of characters, okay? But make sure you fill it up. One of the things I encourage candidates is to make a list of keywords. Take the back of one of your notebooks and start making a list of all the keywords that describe who you are. Take them out of your resume. Look at job descriptions that you're applying for, okay? Job descriptions of positions you've had in the past. These are all great places to look for keywords, okay? Then make sure your LinkedIn profile is full of those keywords, because whether it's an AI tool or it's a recruiter using LinkedIn, we use keywords very, very often to look for our right candidate. So use that real estate. And then in the bottom of that section, the
Art?
2,600, yeah.
Quick question in the summary section. You know, there's the top 3 lines
Yep.
that are always visible, and then somebody has to click more to see the rest. I mean, I
Yep.
recognize those are going to be the most critical, but are recruiters likely to hit that more button?
Well, you know why? Is because when we were searching for keywords and I put those keywords into LinkedIn and then I hit search, it takes your profile and it highlights all those keywords.
Got it. Okay.
Yep. And then make sure that at the bottom of that section that is the summary, make sure that you put your email address and your phone number. You are all at a point where you want to be reached right now. And here's the reason that you do that is because in LinkedIn, believe it or not, there's only 2 ways for recruiters to get candidates, reach candidates. And that is, one is if you provide your contact information. And if you don't, there's 2 other ways. If you don't, the other way is that they can send you an in-mail. But guess what? Only 8% of candidates reply to in-mails. 8%. Now, when I have a LinkedIn account, my numbers are way up. I'm in the 21 category, but still 21 is low. If I'm sending out 100 messages a day and I'm only getting 21 replies, that's not very good. So as a candidate, when I click on your profile and your contact information is there, you move to the head of the class, because I can pick up the phone and call and talk to you right now. I can get all of the answers that I need to my questions. How long have you been there? Why are you leaving? What was your salary when you left? What did you like most about the company? Have you ever worked with this software? Have you ever done this? Have you ever worked in an office like this? Do you object going to the office every day? You know, recruiters got 5 or 6 questions they want to ask real quickly. And so I can have a 5-minute conversation or a 30-minute conversation with a candidate immediately. And so it just pays high dividends to give us your contact information. If you're a little nervous about it, put your email address. I don't know where you live. I don't have anything else other than an email address. And if you don't want to use a phone number, you can use a Google phone number, I think it is, where you have a number that then searches for you, but nobody knows what your actual phone number is. So there are a couple of alternatives there. But the key is that you're in a position right now where you want to be reached and you want to make it easy for recruiters to find you. After you get your next job, you can take that information off of LinkedIn. But for the next month or 2 or 3, whatever it takes, I highly recommend that you give us your contact information.
Yeah, and Kurt, I was advised, again, same thing if you're okay with it being out there, but I have it in my banner. Somebody suggested to put it right up on top.
Yep. You want to demonstrate, and some people say, is that desperate? No. It's you're trying to be recognized, and it demonstrates that you're actively looking for a job. So I think it's absolutely a-okay to do that. So we talked about keywords. We want to make sure that all of our jobs are filled in LinkedIn. If you're 40 years in the job market and you only want to go back to the last 30 years or 20 years, that's okay too. But you know, I don't, I'll tell you a funny story. I do not get, I did a search recently for a company and they were very upfront that they wanted a female. They didn't give me an idea of age. They wanted a female, and it was because there were the business that they're in and the other pieces of the office. It A female really meets the recipe for their success. So it wasn't a sexual, it wasn't that kind of thing at all. It was that they've had a male in this role before, and because of what they do, they've had a lot more success when they've had a female in the role. So that's one time recently that somebody gave me that. I once not recently, about 6 years ago, I was working for a company and they told me that they wanted somebody, they would not hire a Republican. And I just kind of, I didn't even answer their question. I was meeting with them. It was a couple of women and I didn't answer. I didn't shake my head. I said, that's interesting. I said, I'll let you figure out a way to ask those questions because I I can't even ask that. I mean, I've worked for companies that are Christian based, and I can get around that pretty quickly just by talking about your family and what do you do on Sundays, and I get a pretty good pulse pretty quick on that. But I'm not going into the politics game. So what I'm pointing out though is that you might think that you've got an age discrepancy or that you're older or whatever it might be, but the fact of the matter is that it is it's really not there. I work for a lot of companies. There's one that I did a search for about 4 years ago, and we were actually looking for somebody that was somewhere between 60 and 63 years old, and they wanted to work till they were 68 or 70 because they were hoping for somebody older to make that transition. It was a family-owned business, and they had the fourth generation, but they needed the gap between the second and third generation, and so they wanted somebody older. So again, um, get that out, get those demons out of your head because companies are hiring older people all the time. If that's one of the questions that somebody's got, but LinkedIn is the place to go. Keywords, contact information, putting the wreath around your head. There's nothing wrong with that. Some people don't like it, but you can still switch on to tell recruiters that you're open to new work, even though you don't put the wreath on. But there really is no reason not to put it on. Sally's got a question.
Yeah, Kurt, back to your ageism comment. I mean, this is my perspective, with the aging of the workforce and the change that, a lot of people want or have to do a working retirement.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see any like part-time professional work or like half-time or job splitting type opportunities?
Yeah, I don't see a lot of them because they don't come to recruiters for that kind of work, but I hear about it. I think there's fractional work all over the place. I think that what I would do is I would, if that's something that you want to do, I would definitely start a networking exercise where you can find one first, maybe two or three in the next 30 days of people that are doing that work to learn about how they did it, where are they doing it, what do they like most about it. I think that it falls into the category of contract work, Sally, and again, I completely understand where people are at and having to work and wanting to work, and I'm 67 years old, and the idea of retiring is daunting to me because I love what I do, and I enjoy it, and I can't play golf 5 days a week. I mean, I could, but I don't want to, and so I. But the thing that people talk about most when in that space is that they find that job and then it runs out in 6 months and then they got to go sell themselves somewhere else and then they got to go sell themselves somewhere else. So you're constantly on that treadmill of having to sell and resell and resell and resell. But with that said, depending on what part of the business you're in, there are companies that don't want or don't need, for instance, a full-time bookkeeper. Okay, they can get by with a fractional person, and you could work there for 20 years, but you're never going to get 40 hours a week. They don't want to pay your benefits, and you may not need benefits, but they only want you for 12 or 15 hours a week, and that's all you're going to get. And that would be beautiful, especially if I knew what day of the week you wanted me. I could plan some stuff, right? So there's companies out there, but you got to dig deep to find out where those are and who they're with and so forth. Sally, what part of the business are you in?
I'm a technical business analyst. So
Okay.
I'm that relationship manager between business and technology.
Yeah. So I've got to believe that there are companies that, especially with all this AI stuff, I mean, there's some point there's got to be somebody internally that's doing some of the validation of some of this stuff. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I would make it a purpose of mine. You know, I tell people that finding a job is a full-time job, and it's the hardest job you'll ever find. It sucks. You get rejected every day. People that you work with, people, family, they think Kurt, you're so smart. Why is it taking you 4 months to find a job? Why are you still unemployed? What's wrong? I've got a nephew that worked for Schlumberger for 20 years, and he was an expat. He's back in the United States, graduated from SMU with a master's of engineering. One company in his whole life, he can't find a job. And so, it's it's a hard place to be. So, if you need to pick up some fractional work along the way, I highly recommend it. And I think I'd spend an hour or two a week, maybe more, to just try to dig into that and network with people to find out whether or not there's an underground work model somewhere that you haven't found so far.
Great
Some of
idea.
the
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Some of the and what part of the world are you in, Sally?
I'm in Parker, so Plano, Allen, Murphy, Wiley area.
Okay, so you're here in town. So, some of the areas I'd look at the technology sector and I'd look at the aerospace sector. I think that those are a couple of areas where they do hire fractional because their workloads are so sporadic, and there's been so many layoffs that they're not hiring full-time people back, but they're hiring contract, they're hiring part-time fractional people. So definitely dig into that. I'd ask that question at every networking group that you go to. And maybe Jeff can shed some light on it, but I know that there's people in groups are working on this stuff as well.
Radia?
Yeah, hi. This is Raida. I have a question. I'm new to this country altogether, and I've just recently moved on a green card. My immigration came through. I was a very senior executive back in my country. I looked after the marketing, communications, digital marketing, and social impact areas for a bank, which was a global bank. But here, when I would like to know how to begin my search because the ATS kind of blocks you out because my experience is not relevant to this country. And wherever I've gone and spoken to people, a few people have asked me to come on board as a fractional CMO, look after the communications as well, but either fractional or pro bono. Now, and they tell me that in order to get in, I should join them and, kind of that'll give me a platform. Is that something that you would recommend?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't do a pro bono, that's for sure. I mean, I understand and at Godspeed. I mean, it's going to take a little bit of time, but pro bono, no. Fractional, absolutely. If in what you might do, I mean, I'm just thinking out loud here again. so much of what you and people like you do in your industry and your building is that you can quickly identify some of the low hanging fruit. So what you may need to do is throw a couple proposals out there to a couple of people to say, I know you're going to probably take my ideas and give them to your marketing person and take my ideas away from me, but let me give you some idea of some of the low hanging fruit. I'm not going to give you all the ideas because there's a lot more that goes along with this. But here are some suggestions of things that somebody should be looking at in your organization because you're missing business or you're missing this or you're missing that. So I wouldn't hesitate to do those kinds of presentations, but I wouldn't put together 20-page presentations. I'd figure out if you're going to do any of those, they're 1 or 2 pages, so you can hammer these things out in 3 or 4 hours. It's not taking you weeks to develop them, but I think that my recommendation is that you get a job, okay, and it may not be the job that you want. It may not be the perfect job. It may not be the perfect title, but I want you to go get a job because finding your second job is going to be a lot easier than this first one is. But there's a lot of banking and financial services in this town. There's so much. There's so much of it. Out in Grapevine, you've got um, um, oh, the investment bank, Schwab.
Schwab and
Um,
UBS are out there.
yeah, exactly. But then you've got so many other banks. I mean, this is
Yeah.
that are not even in startup, but are doing some great things. So yeah, that's
Just
what I would target.
while you say that, there are so many banks like JP Morgan, Wells Fargo. I've seen and applied. There's Fidelity. It's exactly up my alley. I mean, the kind of work that I've been doing and the job roles, but somehow I mean, I've applied to those jobs as well, but I always get an auto reply of rejection after a few days.
Yeah,
So I understand my resume has not made it through that applicant tracking system, which
right.
kind of blocks you. How do we get around that?
By using AI, just like they're using AI, by using your resume, putting it in AI, giving the AI tool the job description as far as what the company's looking like, and make sure that your resume reflects it 100%. So that's one of the things you can do. Make sure you're using and Jeff's going to chime in here.
Well, and you also want to remember that when you apply to an ATS applicant tracking system, you only have a 1 or 2% chance of getting a phone call. So it means you're going to have to do 100 applications to maybe get one phone call. If you
Right.
can network your way in, find somebody in the company that can hand deliver your resume or hand deliver something to the recruiting department, you have like the 50% chance of getting back a phone call. So, you should, when you're applying for an ATS, that should be something you do at nighttime or on the weekends. Save
Right.
9 to 5, Monday through Friday, for opportunities to pick up the phone and call someone and to network in, because you have a much greater chance of getting the job that way.
Jeff is absolutely right. So what we're talking about is literally you find these jobs that you would like to apply for, and I would put them on the back burner and wait 48 hours before you apply and do what Jeff just said. And that is to dig into LinkedIn, dig into your own network, send notes out to people that go to networking groups that you're going to. Does anybody have contacts within this organization?
Yes, I have contacts at Wells Fargo.
Yep, there you go. So it's and all you're trying to do is you're not asking these people for a job. You just want to have a conversation. What keeps you up at night? What are the biggest problems you're trying to solve? I've got a lot of experience in social media, and I see that your organization's doing this and this and this. Who would I talk to in your organization that would be, that I could get an ear for? And again, don't ask for an hour. Okay, you don't know these people. Ask for 12, 14 minutes. Ask for a queer number. If you ask for 30 minutes, they don't know you. They're likely to turn it down. Some of the best business I've gotten is I've asked for 16 minutes. Okay. and then follow that 16 minutes. And at the end of 16 minutes, you've gotten what you need. But highly recommend that you follow Jeff's rules, because that's where the rubber meets the road. It's hard and heavy lifting, but it's going to pay a much higher dividend much quicker than just sending in applications from the internet.
Michelle, I see you've got your hand up. You muted. Michelle, we can't hear you.
Okay, I'm mute. Okay, Rada, are you close to that job by chance that you can drive up there and go in the front door with your resume and an invite to call me back, please?
Yeah.
I'm warehouse. I'm a little bit more determined. So
Yeah, I can do that. I believe I can do that because I live in Plano and it's nearby. I can drive in, but I don't know how in the US market people would respond to that, because I feel that people are averse to talking to anybody. You call somebody, they put you on a voicemail. You're talking to a bot. A lot of times I find that as the lack of human connection. If I walk in, nobody wants to talk to me. I went to UT Dallas because I've been a teacher of marketing and brand, a lecturer, and the department head didn't want to see me. So, after sending out emails and all, so I decided to go and walk into the department and ask to meet the gentleman. And I was given a card with his name and email address that you should send your resume and profile to this address. And I did, and I didn't get a response still. So, I feel that people here don't want to have that human connection. They don't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
But most
So,
people are really busy and have gatekeepers. That admin was a gatekeeper. Wells Fargo, it's the security desk at the front door.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
yeah, but
Yeah,
I'm used to working for ADT for like 8 years, so I know how to get into the security companies. But what
Yeah.
I would say, be more
Aggressive.
forward. What we used to do in the old days is take our resume in with a cover letter, a business card, and then an invite with a coffee discount card for a gift to gift yourself an appointment in there.
Oh, wow. That's good. That's good. That's a wonderful advice.
I mean, that's
if
selling
you-
yourself.
If you know the hiring executive for the role that you're trying to get, I mean, it's Katie bar the door. It's whatever you can do to get in. I mean, I think it's I could tell you a quick story about once I did what you're all talking about. I was interviewing for a company, and I was told at the end that I was apples and that the other candidate was oranges. And so I ended up going to Trader Joe's or wherever and bought a dozen Washington apples because the company was based in Washington, and then put a PowerPoint on top of it why apples were better than oranges. And I FedExed it off to the manager where I thought that her office was, but I learned a week later that she never goes to that office. And so my presentation and my apples were sitting in the mail room waiting for somebody to open them up. So I think you just have to be careful of what you do, where you go, and make sure that executive does go to that office. But I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I think in today's environment, you got to try a few different things, and that's one that I would definitely not say to kibosh. I would try it.
The other thing,
Okay.
the other thing I would add, the other thing I would add to that is if you're going to go there, leave a handwritten note. That
Yep.
makes a big difference, right?
Huge.
Okay. Great.
Also,
Great.
your home country does do the organizations you're looking at have offices in your home country? Is there a way you
No.
could backdoor in? Okay. I'm just
No,
curious.
that's not. No, that's good. Actually, I worked very closely with various chambers also. And here I got an opportunity and I applied for a perfect role, marketing, events, and communication head, senior vice president at the Dallas Regional Chamber. I applied. I mean, this was such a perfect fit. And when I applied, I got an interview with the HR head who just rejected me after a few days. A week later, I got a rejection. And another few days later, I saw the job open again. And I wrote a note to the gentleman. He did not respond on LinkedIn. There's no way to connect with him. And I tried reapplying for that role. it doesn't take your second application. You can't reapply for the role.
Is
Then
that
I
still,
applied for another
is that
role.
role still open?
Yes, it is. And I really don't know how to go about it.
Well,
You need to find your
I know
contacts at LinkedIn.
the Dallas
I,
Chamber,
I, sorry, go
the
ahead.
Dallas Chamber is downtown, so that's one that I would definitely handwrite a note, take a resume, and just candidates often ask me, when do you stop calling? When do you stop pushing? When do you stop trying to communicate? And and I tell them when they say, don't ever write me again, don't ever send me a note again. So that particular offer or that job, I would definitely take it down there, and I'd be as kind as could be to the woman that or the man or whoever's sitting at the front desk, and I'd ask for this to be delivered to the HR director, and I would have your resume. Make sure it's spot on to the job description, that it highlights what you've done in all those categories, and then a handwritten note that says, I know that we continue to miss each other, but I'm super excited about this opportunity. And for that reason, I can't help but to continue to try to figure out a time we can connect face to face. Absolutely. I would take that all day long.
Okay, perfect. I'll
Kurt?
do that now. Thank you so much.
But Kurt, now back to what my question was going to be. I am a bookkeeper. I find it hard to believe that you would find someone just for 15 hours a week. When I'm bringing in at least 40 checks a day, I'm doing the deposits, I'm doing the, what do you call it? Not the summary, what do you call it? I'm sending out bank statements and stuff to these customers. So I find it hard to believe that my position actually is getting more limited.
Well, no, it's not necessarily. No, it's not. It's not more limited. I'm just suggesting that my bookkeeper's getting ready to retire, and I need somebody to do my books. But she spends 2 hours a month on my books because I don't have checks. I don't have any employees. I have a very simple business model. So I think that my point is that there are a lot of businesses out there that don't mandate having a full-time bookkeeper in their office, 40 hours a week, that there's people that can do their business and do it in a shorter period of time. It's not all the cases, but there are some cases. I know, again, the gal that does my book, she's got like 40 clients, and every one of us is going to be looking for somebody to do our books, when she retires at the end of the year. And there are people that do that kind of fractional work for small businesses, but mine's very, very small.
Yeah, I did it for 2.5 years. I worked for a small company. There's only 5 people who worked there, but it was 2 or 3 days a week. It was perfect because I could continue doing my Friday networking group. I could do LinkedIn on Tuesdays. I had the flexibility to do everything I've been doing, and it just sort of filled some of the other time up. So those jobs are out there. You've got to find a smaller company that doesn't have 40 checks coming in every day.
Right. Sounds like this is a small business opportunity for somebody to buy an existing bookkeeping practice.
Yeah.
Especially now with the economy like it is, our collections is growing. The dental surgeon field.
Yeah.
And they're hiring people now for denied claims. I go and I verify the insurance, but then the insurance turns around and wants to deny the payment. They'll take the patient's payment, their copay, but they won't approve us to pay us. So I don't want to go back into that field again. Yeah. I'd rather just stay in with pharmacy distribution. If I could find someone who gives me a connection with Walgreens, if I could find a location, because there I'm helping the elderly. I'm from DaVita, I'm from Kidney Care. We have most of our patients are middle age and older. So they don't use barcoding. We have to manually put in all the check deposits and it's a big business if you stay in pharmacy.
Sure. Yep. Okay, well, this has all been great questions, everybody. Thanks for your participation. I think for the 2 people that have offered to give me some help on LinkedIn. And Jeff, anything else that we need to cover or any other questions?
No, that's it. We'll wrap it up here. Let me share a few slides and we'll get out of we will get out of here. Tomorrow, I want to talk about the practice interview team. If you want to watch an interview, you can go to Christ United Methodist Church at Coit and Parker in Plano from 1 to 3 o'clock. They will be doing 3 interviews tomorrow. The first, second, third, and fifth Wednesday of the month, they always do interviewing in person. On the fourth Wednesday of the month, they will be online only. That way, everybody around the United States can watch a practice interview. At the beginning of the session, I mentioned the Friday North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. Clayton Stockdale will be with us to talk about accountability and accountability groups. This is a really good presentation because how to start an accountability group, other people who are doing what you're doing, who are in job search, how you all can help each other and you can be accountable with each other. And the number one rule is your significant other is not in your accountability group. You want other job seekers to be in your accountability group.
Correct.
So come join us for this Friday, 9:30 Central Time. You're welcome to join the Career FW or Career USA LinkedIn groups. We just crossed 16,300 members in the DFW group. You do not need to live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but I will look at your profile. And if your profile is not mostly complete, why are you on LinkedIn? So get yourself a really robust, complete profile. Tell people what it is you do and how you can help them. This session has been recorded. It will be on the Career USA YouTube channel later this afternoon. You are welcome to subscribe to the channel. If you do, every time we post a new video, you'll find out about it. On the Career USA YouTube channel, click on one of 7 different playlists. I put all the videos into one of 7 different playlists. Where you see that red arrow, don't click on the video, but click where it says View Full Playlist, and up will come a list in chronological order with the speaker and the topic, and you can go watch any one of those videos that you want at your convenience. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops, you're welcome to join the Career USA mailing list. You can just scan this QR code and send a blank email, or just send a blank email to Career USA, the + subscribe at groups.io, and you'll never be spammed. I control the list. We only put out 2 or 3 emails a week, and you'll get links to all the presentations that we're doing. Please remember, Career FW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. I'm a volunteer. Kurt was a volunteer. All of our speakers are volunteers. We're just here to help you land your next great opportunity. So thank you very much for joining us today. Kurt, once again, thanks very much. And hopefully we'll see everybody later in the week.
Hey, Kurt, also, while you're still there,
Yeah.